Hello and welcome to some outdoor skullduggery of the third kind. So what we have here is a Pohl Force, something a little different on the channel. And this specific one is the Desert Outdoor Gen 3. And where did that skullduggery nonsense come from? Well, that's on the lanyard. I'll speak a little bit about that. Very interesting and quite nice lanyard put onto the knife. Right, let's lay this down. So, which way should I put it? There, so you can see the name, Pohl Force. Right, so the knife designer, Dietmar Pohl, and owner of the company, a little bit of background of that man. So apparently he studied economics, but knife collecting was his hobby. He had been collecting apparently for 25 years, and that became his profession around 1994 when he became marketing director, designer, and product manager in the Solingen knife industry. And then obviously eventually broke out on his own. And according to his website, they create modern Pohl Force, that is, create modern EDC and tactical knives. And reading online, so he doesn't have himself any specialized police or military background, but does get input from various agencies like the GSG9, SEK, KSK, SWAT, and so on. So speaks to them to get inputs for his knife designs, but doesn't claim to have been any sort of special forces. And apparently he says on his site that he gets irritated by those who claim they were simply as a marketing tactic, because that just disrespects those who were genuinely part of any sort of special forces or military or police. So there, a little bit of background of Dietmar Pohl. I'm going to do the usual, go through materials and dimensions, and then we'll speak a little bit about the design and attributes of this knife. So we've got a blade steel of CTS BD1, a blade steel that's been around for a long time, but that I've never really had any exposure to. And if I have, I probably just didn't know it in days gone by. But reading up a little bit about that blade, about that steel, I should say, and its characteristics. So, like I say, a blade steel that has been out for a very long time, and not a powdered steel or any one of the new fancy steels, but in terms of its characteristics, ease of sharpening. And I got this from Blade HQ, Blade HQ's own sort of list of blade characteristics. So ease of sharpening on par with 1095, and they gave it a sort of 7 out of 10 on that attribute. Toughness on par with S30V, and that's 5 out of 10 for that. Edge retention the same as N690 and 154 cm. And again, they gave 5 out of 10 for that attribute. And then corrosion resistance on par with M390 and S35VN. So all in all, I suppose not such a bad steel, even though it might not be, one of the best steels around. Yeah, so there's a little bit about that blade steel. In terms of handle, we have a glass fiber reinforced Zytel. That feels kind of like plastic in hand, but obviously tougher than just your common plastic, if there is such a thing as common plastic. Liner is stainless steel. You can see that in black. The clip is a wire clip, stainless steel, as you can clearly see. And then the screws are all stainless steel as well, and they're all flat, by the way, so easy enough to get into this knife if you do want to take it apart. The pivot is a bronze washer, and then the back spacer is the same glass fiber reinforced Zytel. Right, let's put that down there and then charge through the dimensions and then speak a bit more about the knife. So blade length is 8.3 centimeters or 3.27 inches. Blade thickness is 3.5 mils or 0.13 inches. Handle thickness, and it was difficult to measure that with this sort of shaped handle, but that is 16.4 millimeters or 0.64 inches. Handle length, or closed length, I suppose, pretty much the same thing. That is 110.5 mils, and that's 4.35 inches. And then overall length of the blade of the knife, I should say, is 19.5 centimeters or 7.67 inches. Right, let's weigh this guy quickly, and I actually haven't done that, and if it was online, I didn't take note of it, so let's have a quick look at that. Right. Do we have life? We do have life. So ounces, what do we have? 4.3 ounces, which still doesn't mean that much to me because it's not a language I understand, but you might. 4.3 ounces, and let's see that in milliliters and grams are going to be the same thing, 123 grams. So yeah, not a light knife, but again, it's one of those knives. It's not built clearly just by the styling and what we've read about the Pohl Force's approach to design of knives is not designed to be a light knife. It's not that kind of tool. Right, let's speak a little bit about the design now. So we've got blade shape, very interesting, quite a lot of detail and things happening on that blade, but you know, is it a modified drop point? Is it maybe a modified clip point? Maybe something in between the two, I'm not sure, but you've got two finger choils that sit on the back of the blade. A little bit of a recurve, unfortunately, if you're one of those that sharpens their own knives. Really, really big sharpening choil at the back of the knife. So when you get that in hand, there's quite a number of ways that you can get hold of this knife. So there, if you sort of more traditional grip on the knife, you can see that. So a little bit further back on the handle, completely on the handle. My medium-sized hands comfortably get on there. Bigger hands, you're probably going to stray towards the back of the knife a little bit. But then you've got that big forward finger choil that you can choke up on the blade, and then you can keep your finger in your thumb in that finger choil, or you can move right forward onto the blade with that extra choil on the spine of the blade there. So yeah, quite a few ways you can get hold of that knife, and holding it like that, you really do have nice control of that blade if you're doing a little bit of that sort of finer work, finer cutting, or if you're wanting to bear down on that blade. Jimping, the jimping runs from the blade onto the lock. So this is a lock back, by the way. I haven't mentioned that yet. So it's a lock back design, which is inherently very, very strong. But getting back to that, you can see the jimping nicely just sort of carries on and flows onto that spine, onto that lock. Got the little Gen 3 etched onto the lock there as well. So in terms of markings, that is a serial number. So that's just, it's not a limited edition, but I'll speak about that, the fact that these aren't actually available at the moment. BD1 is your blade steel, and then the Gen 3 on the spine there, and then on that glass reinforced Zytel backspacer, we've got the name of the knife there again, so Pohl Design. Not the knife of the name, but branding, Pohl Design. Jimping on the back, towards the back of the handle, and you can see the shape, how that handle has been shaped. It almost looks like it's been chiseled. Nice look though, sort of an aggressive look to the blade, and that obviously just gives you a lot of grip, a lot of purchase on the knife. I think a really good looking knife. All in all, so you can see that hollow design on the can you? There we go. Now you can on the pivots and on the back as well. But those then do have the little cut into them for a flat screwdriver to get that open. And then this very nice looking lanyard. Now I'm not a lanyard guy, but this is. I mean, it comes with the knife, and it is good looking. So it's got that little stainless steel skull on it. And in the way that has been knotted or plaited, or however you would term that. But yeah, very good looking. And they say that the lanyard is on there for a practical reason. They, being Pohl Force, that it helps you get this knife out of pocket in a hurry. Yeah, maybe it does. I've never really had a problem getting my knives out of my pocket, but yeah, I suppose I can see that might assist. But good looking anyway, and a little bit of something extra with the knife. You've seen that the knife doesn't have a finger stud, a thumb stud, I should say, or a flipper tab or anything like that. So it's got the traditional old style nail nick. And that is to meet German legislation that doesn't allow one-handed opening knives. So, that's why that's been done. Oh, you didn't see that. I didn't open it with one hand. Sorry, let me do that again. Sorry, I meant to open it like that. So as you can see, the knife is smooth enough that you can still open it with one knife. And I'm not going to get anyone into trouble here because it doesn't look like they're actually making folding knives at the moment. Now, if you know more than I do, I mean, please comment below. But going onto their site, all their folding knives are in their archives, and if you go and look at them, they all say that they are discontinued and no longer available, so sold out. And the only knives that they do have available are fixed blade knives. So I don't know if they've stopped making folders altogether or if there's a new range that's going to be coming out at some time. You may know more than I do, but these knives, and this one included, not currently available. Now, if you go onto the site and you look in the archives, you can see there's a lot of options of knives available. So they've got frame lock knives, they've got lockback knives. There are knives that can be opened with one hand, and they've got the little thumb disc on them. And then they've got also one that has, and I'll put this in inverted commas, it's the Axis type lock on them. And that is actually, it's called an OCS lock, and it's a lock that was patented by Lion Steel. But if you look at it, it looks pretty much like the Axis lock that you might know on a Benchmade knife. So some of those other knives, like I say, you get a frame lock knife where the lock side of the knife is actually in titanium. So that's good looking. And then you get different. You get coated blades, and you get blades with serrated edge. So really a large variety of knives, but all of them, as I say, are discontinued and no longer available, which is a little bit sad. If that's the case, if they've decided not to make folding knives anymore. Getting back to this knife, so the overall shape of that handle, really comfortable in hand with that slight curve to it, and you can see this little step, and that in hand, your fingers over there fall on that platform, and then these two on the back. Now, does that really do anything in terms of ergos? Well, I don't really know, but it does feel comfortable. Credit where credit's due. This knife feels very, very good and very secure in hand. So for that tactical, I suppose, type application, this does really seem to me fit for purpose. So I think that pretty much covers everything. Quick glance at the notes here to see anything. Oh, there is something else that I did want to mention. So in terms of making the knife a little bit lighter, you can see that the liner, and I think you can see that in this case without the use of a torch, but you can see that there is some material that has been cut away from the liner just to make the knife a little bit lighter, and that is on both sides because this is not a liner or frame lock. Obviously it's easy to do that because the liners are identical on either side. Right, is that it? Have I covered everything? Again, I think a really tidy looking knife, and I actually really like it. I don't know if it's the first Pohl Force, by the way, I've had in my hands, and maybe that's why I really do like it. And it's kind of one of those knives that I want, but it might be just that. It might be the novelty factor for me, the fact that I've only seen Pohl Force in just giving the knife a little bit of a clean there. It's that satin finish that is a fingerprint magnet. But getting back to that it is a knife that is pretty new to me, and therefore I'm very attracted to it. But feels good in hand, seems fit for purpose, and even though this specific one doesn't have the one-handed opening device, it is easy enough to do that. Oh, and by the way, closing the knife as well. So you've got the usual lock back, little cutaway in the handle, so a little bit of pressure on there and the knife will close. But because of that big sharpening / finger choil there, you can safely do that with this knife. So you can close it, and when it falls shut, the choil falls against your finger. So no danger of being cut by the knife if you keep your hand in its position that it was when you were holding the knife. So you just close that, then get your finger out the way and close it the rest of the way. So yeah, I really like that. And again, I'm puzzled by the fact that they seem to have discontinued all their folding knives. Their fixed blade knives are really good looking, by the way. I suggest you go and look at that on their website. And to repeat myself, if you know why they've discontinued their folding knives, please let me know below, comment below. This specific knife, and I've got to say that again, has been supplied by Blades and Triggers in South Africa. Really appreciate their support of the channel. And I am very tempted to buy this, extra tempted by the fact that you can't get these knives anymore, or should I say, you're not making them anymore. They might still be available at various retailers, but they certainly are available at, well, this one is anyway, and I've seen a couple at Blades and Triggers. But check out their website, BNT Online, nice range of knives there. And again, I appreciate their support. As I do appreciate you stopping by and sharing a little bit of your time with me, guys, and I really would appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button icon and the bell icon so that you can be informed every time I release a video, because I really would appreciate you joining me more often. And guys, I think that is pretty much. So other than that, all there is left to say is you go well and God bless.